Is Bitcoin headed for a new all-time high? I don't just mean like 113, 114K, new all-time high, blow off top. Is Bitcoin headed for a blow off top? That's what I have been saying all along on Bitcoin, but there are a couple of things we need to be aware of. Look at this weekly candle. Something could happen here. What if this turns out, we close around 106 here and turns out to be a topping tail? What would that look like? I mean, look at this. This was a topping tail, right? You've basically had a double top situation here. People thought this was a double top situation. I said this is the least likely scenario. Now, we need Bitcoin to at least close above 108.4K-ish area to make this candle seem decent. If it closes around here, say 106.2.3, then it's going to look like a topping tail. That's going to freak everyone out. It's going to freak the Jesus out of everyone. Like, if it goes to 108K, 109K, look at this candle. This was a double top looking candle. Look at it. Look at that, right? And then if it goes there, right? And then 112K and it goes to 111, 112K again, and if it closes like this, people are going to be thinking of this candle. And even more, people are going to be thinking this is going to be like 2021, right? Now, I'll just say firmly up front, I'm not in that camp. I think that's possible. It can close like 106 and look like a bad topping tail candle. But I am against the idea that this is the top of the market and we go down. I'll tell you why. And as you can see, guys, I've been the one who's been calling the blow-off top. The blow-off top for a long time. This was just one of many tweets. This was from June 4th, right? Said it again. Blow-off top for Bitcoin stocks. 112K is only temporary resistance after this pullback. Stocks and Bitcoin should make new all-time high. You know, double top 112, 113K is least likely. I've said this many times. Many times. Now, so basically, what we're looking at is why am I confident? Why am I confident that Bitcoin is not doing a top here? Even though I am warning you guys that this could happen. A Bitcoin weekly close around 106 could happen and it would look really scary. What's even more scary is this. If we got a monthly close, remember the monthly close, the scary signal was this one. We had a monthly close here. That was a very clear topping tail. Don't know if people can see this clearly or not. Very clearly topping tail. That was in December. And I was one of the few people saying, hey, maybe we should pay attention to this. And other people were saying like, oh, this is probably too obvious. And then, of course, we had the pullback to 74K. 73 was my target. We almost hit there. And in 18 days, what if we have a close around 103K here and do a topping tail here as well. A double topping tail candle. This is the least likely scenario. I think this is the least likely scenario, and I'll tell you guys why. Have a look at this chart I'm going to show you guys today. This is the reason why. This is a very significant chart to understand. But before we get to all of that, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo He-Man use? Well, Pablo uses this exchange that's non-KYC, and look at this deal. Look at this great deal from Bitunix. Non-KYC meaning you don't have to show your ID. That means, of course, Americans can use it. That means the exchange can't even see who you are. That means, of course, the IRS can't see you, tax office can't see you, FBI, CIA, nobody can see you, total privacy. That's why Pablo made this deal with them. Just by depositing, get a 20% bonus. Like, deposit $100, get $20 bonus, right? Futures bonus. Deposit, like, you know, $500, get $100 US deposit bonus. Right? Just by trading. Win Apple Watches, iPhone, MacBook Pro, all these great prizes, right? Just by depositing, get these futures trading bonuses. And also, these great prize distributions, top 1, top 2. Even if you come in the top 20, you still get these prizes. Okay, so now, if you're watching on YouTube, then the link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. But if you're watching it on another platform, such as this one, then basically just go to my profile page and there's my Stan link or link tree. And it should be the first deal that pops up because this is a great deal. Bitunix. Okay, folks, let's get back to the markets. And remember, only on the Pablo He-Man link. Only on the Pablo He-Man link. So for Bitcoin, why? I'm saying the monthly top pattern is least likely to happen. But the weekly top could happen, and they could do it to test us. They could do it to test us. The reason is because of this thing, right? And let me just adjust the screen at the bottom so folks can see it better. This is what? It's called the 3-month annualized basis. For what's this 3-month annualized basis? This basis is basically the futures trading, futures basis, like the you know how when you go long or you go short, it's this. It's basically the futures funding rates. This basis, but this basis, this is only for the next 2 hours. 0.08% longs pay shorts, right? 0.000242% longs pay shorts. This thing is what I've been talking about all along, but we're only looking at this real time because it's changing all the time. Right now, it's mostly black. But what this is a 3-month annualized basis. It changes that number into, right? So this number, for example, is only for the next 2 hours. What if we annualize that number, right? We multiply that by a large number, and we get not the daily, not the weekly, not the monthly, but the yearly annualized basis is. It can be as high as 15%. So at sometimes, this is back in December, we were paying 15% to go long. That's essentially what it means. And it's a 3-month average. Now, as we can see, this is basically, right, how it shows how excited the futures market is. The futures market was above, the white line is the price of Bitcoin. The futures basis was above the Bitcoin price on this chart, on this scale. So people were quite excited, and that's why Bitcoin had a run up. But then it got overheated. You could say that it was a little bit overheated because it was above the price on this chart, even to begin with. So that's why we had this pullback, right? That's why we had this pullback. Well, also because Trump and his crazy tariffs, right? That was Liberation Day, it happened around April here. But now look at this. This is something that's quite incredible. For the last, 5 or 6 years I've been in crypto. I've been seriously in crypto. I've not seen this situation before. And what it means is that Bitcoin price is going up, making a new high of 112K, but yet look at this. Look at the futures funding rates. Futures funding rates right now is at like 6%. It's 1/3 as high as what it was when Bitcoin was back at this is around 105K. So just think about how incredible that is right now. Because usually when the market takes off, you think, well, is it futures driven or is it spot demand driven? If it's futures driven, like this one, then there's a chance for a great pullback. And what happens is when it pulls back, then you can see, of course, the futures funding goes down because, as prices go down, because it means all the longs get taken out, right? I've been talking about this all along. I've been talking about this quite often, except I was talking about it using this chart. But this is a short-term, like 1-day chart. This is the 3-month average. So we can see a much better trend here, right? And what we see is that this is one of those very few times, I can't recall the last time this happened, when Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, right? Actually gets above, and yet there's so little excitement from futures traders. A lot of people are still going short. Remember how I kept on saying a lot of people were still going short. Even a few days ago, this thing was entirely green. So I said, I think we'd push up higher. I said, we can get to 112K, even 113, 114K, and then still pull back into like 102, 103, because it's just the futures exchange trying to get rid of all the people who are trying to short, doing short squeezes. And now we have less shorts. We're going more black now. Black is more in the neutral zone. Red is when it heats up, right? Red is when it heats up. So, for example, 4%, 0.04 on Filecoin, for example. That's above 0.01 is when it heats up, like 0.015 here. So what this shows us is that this move up is not done by futures traders, right? It's done because do folks remember that every time when Bitcoin stops here, I kept on saying, look, I think we move up higher. We don't have a pullback because futures funding was mostly green. People are still shorting here. People are still shorting here. People are still shorting here, right? We're getting short squeezes. And now we've come back to more or less neutral, mostly black, not green or red, right? So that means we can swing up or down here now, right? 100K looks to be the bottom. I originally thought 100K was the bottom because futures funding was so green. But then, because everyone agreed with me, 42% on a survey I saw said 100K was the bottom. I thought, okay, maybe we'll go a bit lower to like 95K, mid-90s, right? So far, 100K looks to be pretty solid. I don't expect 100K to be broken this week or next week, but if we start swinging like this, then there's a chance. So now basically, this is, I know this doesn't get talked about often, but this is about as big a signal as you can get. This is a really giant signal, and I hope folks do pay attention to it. Okay, now let's just quickly have a look at the Ethereum situation. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ethereum has been looking slightly stronger than Bitcoin, and look at this, right? Look at this. So I was calling for a pullback to 2,300. Right, didn't quite get there, got to 2370, 2380, and now this is the key. I've been saying this 2760 area is the key, right? We have to close above it on the weekly to establish that we've broken out, not just out of this bull flag, but also out of this big resistance at 2760 area, right? Because see how last time when Ethereum was here, it kept Ethereum down a number of times at 2760, and yeah, and this was in 2021. We can see a couple of pivot tops, pivot bottoms here as well, 2760. Overall, that is the key area. We could have Ethereum basically pull back to, let me just get it onto log chart. We could have it pull back past 2750, even down to 2700. So let's call it 2700. Wick through here, high 2600s, and then bounce up. Wick through here, but essentially bouncing off the top edge of this channel and go up. This depends on kind of on the strength of Bitcoin. I think the next move, when Bitcoin breaks above 120K, ETH is going to go much higher. So let's just have a look at Bitcoin, USD. There are many projections for where Bitcoin can go. And as folks know, I'm not a perma-bear. Not a perma-bear in Bitcoin because, so I've called for Bitcoin 20K. In the past, it didn't happen straight away, but it did go to 15K at one stage. So let's just do a rough calculation lay a few of these fib channels. We'll go to 73, and then we pull back to here, 49K. What does that show us? What does this one show us? This one, let's get it on the weekly so folks can see it better. Now, so, okay, well, according to this, a reasonable estimate is this 141K and then 198, 200K area. So I was saying a blow off top should be at least above 120K. If it just goes to like 114K, 15K and then we top, I would call that a double top. But if it goes to like something like 120K minimum, then I would call that a blow off top. 120K would be something like this, right? Even that is still a blow off top, a double top. So it's probably need a move to something like at least 130, 140K for to qualify as a blow off top. And there's a small chance we get to this 190, 200 area. Yeah, but I'm guessing a lot of folks will be selling once we pop above 120, 130K. That's just one of the number of methods at estimating where Bitcoin's heading. In the I know people sometimes they use the rainbow, sometimes they use other indicators to see how heated, like on-chain metrics like MRVR, market value, realized value, to see how heated the market is when we get there. So that's the thing, guys. Stay tuned, stay up to date with Pablo, and I'll give you the warnings as we get there. Catch you later.